Why am I going blank? What is this? Hi everyone, welcome to my channel from Books and Ash, and today's video is gonna be recent reads from April and May. I don't really have these in order, and I'm honestly not really all that prepared. I ended up just having a little bit of time and really wanted to try getting some videos made since my channel has just started. Since I'm at the beginning, I figured I would just go ahead and do books that I've read within the last couple months. I do not read like 10 books or more a month. I have always loved reading, but honestly, I just started reading again towards the end of 2020. I used to read a lot in middle school and high school, and then when I graduated high school and went to college, I just stopped reading like altogether. So now I'm finally back into it, and I've been reading like crazy and getting books like crazy. A lot of these I've already owned. There are like certain series that I had when I was in high school, but I actually didn't care to collect too many books because I read books from the library all the time. So a lot of this accumulation behind me has been from the last like 7 to 8 months of just being obsessed with reading. So if that tells you anything. So basically I'm just gonna go over these books with you. There is fantasy, thriller, dark romance, and I really think that that's it. I have a huge range of like 2 to 5 star reads. I don't really hold myself to my ratings just because I'm such an indecisive person. And I know if I love a book or not, but doing this whole like ranking rating system, like honestly kind of stressed me out because like I have to think on it forever before I make a decision. And then sometimes I go back and I didn't even like that decision at all, you know, so we'll see. The first book that I have is Credence by Penelope Douglas. This is actually the first book that I've ever read by Penelope Douglas, and I absolutely love this book, and now I plan to read all of her books. I think I gave this 4 stars. There were a couple things towards the end that I wish would have gone a little bit differently, but honestly I was still really satisfied with the ending. This is a reverse harem, so if you're not into a girl being with multiple men in one book, this is probably not your thing. Definitely darker romance. I know for some people this is probably not that dark compared to what else they read, but I'm just getting into that genre. Really steamy, super smutty. I mean, there's a lot of sex in this book with the main character Tiernan with multiple men. It's actually her step uncle and step cousins. They're not blood related at all. What happens is she's 17, her parents are rich, famous, they didn't really raise her, and they suddenly die when the father has cancer, and him and his wife are so obsessed with each other they decide to commit suicide together, and she needs somewhere to go. And her father left her in the care of her step uncle, who she didn't know existed and obviously never met. And he lives out in Colorado in the mountains. He calls her up and says, hey, I know you're about to turn 18 in a couple months. You can come here if you want to, but I'm not gonna make you. But I know what it was like living that kind of lifestyle. So if you wanna get away, you can. So she goes there, and it's just about her finding herself and having relationships with these men. And it was so good. I really like this. I think you should definitely give it a try. I know some people are kind of like, that is super taboo. I mean, it is, but it's really good. It's not real, it's fictional. Give it a try. The next book I devoured instantly. If you can't tell from the name of my channel, from Books and Ash, obviously it's because I love From Books and Ash from Jennifer L. Armentrout. So when The Crown of Gilded Bones was finally out, I was so excited. I didn't read anything from that series until the beginning of this year. I read From Blood and Ash, went crazy over it, got A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, and then died basically while waiting for The Crown of Gilded Bones to come out. I really freaking loved this book. I'm so excited for my Fairy Loot editions to come in. This is obviously a 5-star read. It is so freaking good. I know a lot of people hate how much info dumping is in here and hate that there's a lot of repetition. Those things are true. I can't deny that. But I'm not like a critiquer, reviewer, like a lot of YouTubers. Like, they've been reading a long time and they are really into critiquing everything and breaking down books. I just like to escape into books. I read for escapism. I love this series. From Blood and Ash is about a girl who is considered the maiden. It's a definite high fantasy. She is on a journey to eventually ascend, and in this realm, she doesn't really know what to expect, but she does not like her lifestyle. Basically, she's not allowed to be talked to, not allowed to be touched, not allowed to feel any kind of pleasure, and she's struggling with that. She gets this new guard. His name is Hawk. Oh God, her name is Poppy, if I haven't even said that. She gets a new guard named Hawk, and He's smoking hot, and so it turns into a struggle for her. And, you know, it kind of just goes from there. I don't really want to say too much because you've probably heard from the rest of the booktube world already. And if you haven't, you just want to read this for yourself. It is so freaking good. I loved it. Next, I have The Prison Healer, which just came out. It's by Lynette Noni. This is the Fairy Loot edition. The regular edition has blue here. This book is freaking gorgeous. I honestly love everything about it. I could have died when I saw this because I love it so much. Definitely one of my favorite books that I own based on, you know, the cover. Nothing to do with the book. Why am I going blank? What is this? Prison Healer is about a girl named Kiva, and she is a prison healer. She heals people in the prison, and God bless. She ends up having someone new come to the prison who is the rebel queen, and she is like deathly sick. And so there are these trials that the queen is supposed to compete in, and if she survives them, she'll get to live, and if she doesn't survive them, then she dies, which is obvious, sorry. This girl, Kiva, decides to go in her place. The rule is if she completes those trials, she will be free along with the rebel queen. This is pretty good. A lot of people are loving this right now. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but it's not like top tier to me. So really this is like a 3.5. The next one could be definitely a 4 or 5 star for me. Next, I have The Hunting Wives. This is a book of the month version of this book. This is about a woman who's new to town, and she joins the Hunting Wives, and they take guns and they go shoot by the lake. This is a thriller, so a girl ends up going missing. All of the women in the Hunting Wives club end up being suspects. The main character is trying to figure out what the heck is going on, and she also has an obsession with one of the other women who's in the Hunting Wives, Margot Banks. She's an alluring socialite. So the main character, what the heck is her name? Sophie O'Neill, is struggling with the fact that she really wants to be close to that woman, but also wants to figure out what the heck is going on and why this teenage girl went missing. This was pretty good. I gave it 3 stars, just average. I liked it. It just wasn't like amazing to the point that I would give it a 4 or 5, but it's pretty good. One thing that has happened to me the last couple months is I love books about Greek mythology. I have just gone insane over Hades and Persephone retellings. I feel like a lot of people have. So one that I have in this wrap up is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. And it is about Persephone, who is the goddess of spring but doesn't really have her powers. She lives amongst mortals and is a journalist. She ends up being stuck in a bargain with Hades, who runs a gambling empire. This is basically about the beginning of their relationship. It's enemies to lovers. She's stuck in this bargain with him and doesn't want to be, and then things start slowly happening. I really, really like this. I gave it 4 stars. I've read A Touch of Darkness, and then I just finished A Game of Fate, which is the first book from Hades' point of view. I really recommend those. A lot of people don't like books like that because it's the same book but from their perspective, but that's not the case with Hades' book from Scarlett St. Clair. A lot of conversations will come up and you're like, oh, okay, I know exactly what's going on and I know what's about to happen because you've already read it from Persephone's point of view, but you get a whole lot more information that you never got in A Touch of Darkness about Hades, about his dealings with other gods and stuff like that. So I really, really enjoyed it. It's a really good extension on A Touch of Darkness. I read A Game of Fate on my Kindle. I'm also really excited because I bought the Bookish Boxes special editions of A Touch of Darkness and A Game of Fate, and they're eventually going to come out with all the other ones. So hopefully once I get those, I'll be able to do an unboxing, but those aren't going to be ready until like September, which really sucks, but it's okay. But yeah, so I really like these. 4 stars. They are all the rage on like BookTok, BookTube. You should definitely check them out. This next book, I hate to even say it, but like, I don't know what the hell everyone's talking about. This book was awful. I gave it 2 stars because it wasn't literally the worst thing I've ever read, but it was pretty awful. And I hate to even say that because I'm like so stunned. I wanted to DNF this book the whole time I was reading it. And I'm so sad because I started seeing this everywhere. This book is freaking gorgeous. I loved it. It's a Reese's Book Club pick. Like, I thought this was going to be amazing. It's by Adrienne Young. And I just did not like it. Nothing happens the whole freaking book. Literally nothing happens until it's like, what's the page? What page? Where? Let me just, give me a minute. 189. Yeah, so chapter 23. I think that's where I finally was like, okay, something's happening. Maybe I'll like this. I don't know. I mean, I'm telling you, it took almost to page 200 for me to finally think that anything was happening. Literally nothing happens. This is about a girl named Fable who was abandoned by her father when, how old was she, 14? He just leaves her on an island. It's like a pirate story. And he's like, if you can survive on your own, come find me and I'll rightfully give you what's yours. Like, she teaches herself how to like scavenge for like jewels and stuff. And then she ends up on a boat trying to go find her father and nothing happens. There's a love interest where nothing happens. It is YA, so the fade to black scenario, take it for what it is. I didn't really dislike that. I mean, it's YA. I was fine with it fading to black, I guess. But like all of a sudden they're a thing and there was no build up to them having a relationship. And I don't really know what else to say about this book. Right at the end, it ends on a cliffhanger and you're like, damn, I finally got to the end of this book. Things are just starting to happen and it ends. So, I don't know. I really don't like this book, but at the same time, I'm like, do I want to read Namesake just so I could see if it stays so bad? Or from that little amount at the end where it was kind of good, is it going to build up on that and be great? Plus, that cover is beautiful as well. I almost pre-ordered it. I'm glad I didn't pre-order it because I'm still trying to decide if I even want to get it. I'm just so disappointed. And now I'm even more nervous because I found Adrienne Young's Sky in the Deep and The Girl the Sea Gave Back for really cheap. And I have those and I haven't read them. This was my first read. And everyone was like, this is her best book. So now I'm like, well, shoot, if that was her best book, do I even want to read the other two? I don't know. I don't know what people are talking about. And I hate to sound like that, but I just didn't like it. Am I going to keep it because the cover's gorgeous? 100%. Next, I have A Deal with the Elf King by Elise Kova. This is another Hades and Persephone retelling. This book is beautiful. I got this as a birthday gift. I kind of wish now that I also had the hardcover because the hardcover is freaking beautiful. Like the actual case, like the actual hardcover book is freaking beautiful. Girl, get the hardcover. One of my favorite things about this book actually is the dedication or whatever. It says, for those who need a break and a second glass of wine. As soon as I saw that, I called my sister who bought me this book and I was like, dude, listen. And she was like, that's so you, because all I do is drink wine and read books. So this ended up being a 3-star for me. This is an adult book. It is not YA. And the reason why it was 3 stars was because I wanted more. And with it being an adult book, I didn't think it was smutty enough because there are scenes, but it wasn't enough for being an adult book for me. The fantasy world could have been a lot more, and I think that's also why it was only a 3. This is going to be a series of companion novels, and the next one is A Dance with the Elf Rogue or something like that. I'm going to keep getting them and reading them all because I liked it enough, and I really love these covers, and I'm sure they'll all be beautiful. The fantasy world, just like I said, the world building could have been much more, and it didn't read adult to me. This was more, maybe even, I don't know, people say new adult. I don't even know if it would be considered that to me. So that was the part that was really disappointing, is just the fact that there wasn't enough. It got hyped up a lot. Maybe I was so hyped for this book that it was kind of a letdown. I don't know. But it was still good. I mean, it got 3 stars. I haven't even said what this is about. There's a girl named Luella who is the healer for her village, and the Elf King comes. Each Elf King comes and like claims one of the women from their village to be his wife. And so Luella unexpectedly is claimed as that person. Each time the Elf King comes, usually everyone knows who will be the one picked because she has powers of some sort. And for whatever reason, Luella's powers were dormant. She did not know that she had them. So when she's picked, she's like, the hell? Why is he picking me? Next, I have a book that's been all the freaking rage everywhere, like on everything. And that is Den of Vipers. It's a reverse harem. People love this book or absolutely freaking hate this book. They don't understand why it was even made. It's by K.A. Knight. And let me tell you, this is a reverse harem for sure. There's 4 men, they're 4 brothers, and it's like a mafia book, and they run the town that the main character Roxy lives in. And basically what happens is her father, to pay off debts that he owes these 4 men, he sells them his daughter. He's like, just take her. Just take her. You can have her. So the men are Ryder, Garrett, Kenzo, and Diesel. They go, they kidnap her ass, they have her, and she just starts having sex with all of them. This book has no plot. There's like no plot at all. It's really just about the sex with the 4 different guys and how all of those relationships come to be. I personally loved Ryder and Kenzo. Garrett was like, okay, and I did not like Diesel's character at all. Some people absolutely love him, but he's the one who is like into like blood play and hardcore BDSM. I don't even know if that's the right word, but he's into that kind of stuff. Really, there's no plot. But at the same time, like I couldn't put it down and I kept reading, so it got 3 stars because it wasn't like horrible, because I was really into it. But at the same time, by the time I finished it, I was like, what the hell did I just read? So if there had been more plot to it along with all the sex scenes, I would probably have liked it a lot more, but there just wasn't enough. And it's a thick book. Like this book is huge. It was too long. But I say not to read it. No, is it experience? Definitely try it out if you're wanting to get into like the reverse harem thing or a dark romance. I would say still go for it, even though it's definitely hit or miss for people. Some people absolutely hated it because they couldn't stomach Diesel's character, maybe even Garrett's, or maybe even any of them, because some of the scenes, it's kind of like, really, did that just happen? But I'm still glad that I read it. So 3 stars. This next book, An Enchantment of Ravens, which I'm so annoyed because I don't have all the sticker off of her face yet. This is such a gorgeous cover, but this book was totally a letdown. But really it wasn't a letdown because I knew it was gonna be, because nobody thoroughly enjoys this book that I've ever seen. But I found it for really cheap at like Ollie's, maybe like $2.99. So I went ahead and got it because I was like, I wanna know what people, like what is it that they're not liking about it? And this is basically about a girl named Isabel who is a painter, and all the fairies, the fae, they go to her to get like paintings done of themselves. And they're not like humans at all, and they definitely don't want to be. So when she has to paint, what's his name? I can't even think of his name. She has to paint for like this dude who's like in charge of like the autumn court or something like that. That might even be wrong. I don't know. But she is hired to paint him. She gives him like human eyes because that's his flaw. Because of that, he kidnaps her because she has to fix her mistake or he'll lose his throne. But this book was weird. Like, it's insta-love, first of all, and I do not like insta-love. If you like insta-love, you might like this book, but I'm more of a slow burn kind of girl. It was legit, like, as soon as she saw him, oh, we're in love. The fae in this book are, like, very different. And I was like, what is gonna happen? Like, what is with these fae? So I still was, like, wanting to finish it, but the whole time I'm reading it, I'm like, this is not good. This is just not good. I gave it 2 stars because it wasn't 1-star worthy because I kept wanting to read it because I was like, what? I kind of knew that this wasn't going to be any good, which is why I wasn't shocked. Like, I was shocked with Fable. But Enchantment of Ravens, I just kind of knew it was going to be a letdown. So 2 stars. I'm going to keep it because the cover's gorgeous. If you're not sure, just pass on it. Like, pass on this one. Don't read it. Just don't. It's by Margaret Rogerson. I also have Sorcery of Thorns, which everyone loves, so I can't wait to get to that. But this was definitely just a letdown in my opinion. I hate to say that because I'll probably end up hopefully liking Sorcery of Thorns. But this was just different. It was just weird, and I don't know. It was just too insta-lovey for me. That really did it. And then the last book, which, okay, so let me just go ahead and say, Sarah J. Maas is my favorite author, and I started reading her books November of last year, of 2020. I read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire right before the end of the year. So the first book that I read this year was Queen of Shadows, and I just have read along the way, read all of Sarah J. Maas's books. And the last one that I've read is this one, House of Earth and Blood, which is book 1 in the Crescent City series. Probably, it's kind of hard to say. Like, I want to say this is my favorite book of the year, but I also read, of course I love Throne of Glass, but I also read A Court of Thorns and Roses, that whole series this year. I'm obsessed with those. I still think this is probably my favorite book by her. I don't really know. It's really, I love all of her books, so it's kind of hard to say that. But this was definitely a 5-star read. I cried so much in this book. I just loved Bryce. So this is about Bryce, who loses a bunch of friends at the beginning of the book. It's a book about trauma and trying to move on, and depression, and trying to figure out who killed her friends. She is assigned a helper and an angel, and his name is Hunt. He's supposed to help her solve this mystery of how her friends died. There aren't even freaking words. Like, if you have not read this book, you have to read this book. This is gonna go down as probably my favorite book ever. I absolutely loved it. It is huge. A lot of people complain because like nothing happens the first 400 pages, but then the last 400 pages stuff happens, and I'm like, I don't agree with that. I mean, it can be slow in parts, but like you need to learn that stuff. Like you need that build up, because once things really start going, I mean, they're going, and you wanted to have that stuff before you got to that going point. So I didn't think any of this book was boring at all. I absolutely loved it. This is her first official adult book. The second one just got announced as being House of Sky and Breath. So excited. That was kind of like a duh moment, because in the book, it tells you, okay, well, first of all, it has a gorgeous map. And then it tells you all the name of the houses. So it's like, it's okay to assume that there's probably going to be at least 4 books, and they're going to be these titles. So Sky and Breath will be next. I also really love the hardcover. It's so beautiful. I hate how late in the game I got into Sarah J Maas, because now I wish I had all these special editions and stuff. But I really, like, I wish I had all the special editions of A Court of Silver Flames. But I, got on the Sarah Maas train right before all of that was bought, or right after you could buy all of that. So I just have the basic ones, and I wish I had, like, I saw the German version of this book on Amazon and was like, man, that's badass, I should get that. And then I didn't, and like the next day it was sold out, but I hadn't even read it yet. So I was like, do I want to spend the money and get that if, even though I haven't read it? But I knew I loved Sarah J Maas, so why didn't I just get it? Oh well. But anyway, this book is amazing. All the friendships throughout it are really good. The romance isn't like crazy in this book. Book 2, it's coming. So that hurts, because it is a total slow burn. Not much happens between Bryce and Hunt in this book until the end. And because really this first book wasn't really about them as, no, it's friends to lovers. That's what it is. Because he becomes a friend to her because she really doesn't have any other ones. They're dead. It's just really good. I typically, now that I think about it, I don't really have a lot of friends to lovers books, and I haven't read a whole lot of those, but this I would categorize it as that. That could be wrong, I guess, to some people, but this was really good. I kind of wish that I had started YouTube in enough time to like do a vlog where I read this for the first time, because that would have been amazing. I just love this book so much, and this cover is freaking beautiful. I can't wait to see what the next one looks like, and you best believe I'll be getting all the signed editions. I cannot wait. I just love Sarah J Maas so much. If you don't love her, skip this book. Just don't read it. If you love her, girl, get on it. Or if you've already read it, it's that good. Those are all the books that I've read recently. If you liked any of these, let me know down below. What did you think about Fable? I need to know if I'm the crazy one or if other people didn't like it. Like, let me know how you felt about Fable down below. That's all I have. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you next time.